I'm betting that report get dressed up real pretty.
Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of The Testing Room, where three of the gaming industry's best video game consultants who have never actually consulted on a video game bring you new topics each and every week. As always, I'm Alex, a.k.a. The Gosfather.
I'm Christian, a.k.a. Sudowoodle45.
I'm Preston, a.k.a. Shvetty Boy.
Shvetty Boy.
New digs do
That
not
just
have AC unit. It's getting
sounds
hot here in
awful.
Milwaukee. So
like, at what point is it a problem that you don't have AC, right? Because
Today.
probably in the 90s when that happens, like on like Monday or Tuesday.
Fuck
Right
that.
now, I'm
Okay.
fine with the 80s, the mid to high 80s. I'm fine. I don't have a lot of sunlight coming in the location as far as direct sunlight. So it's more
Yeah.
like just like the air and everything like warming up the location because there's not a lot of wind right now, especially today. And so yeah, we'll
So, like,
see
how
how I
hot
feel.
is your house right now?
Thermostat's at 85 when I walked over here.
No.
Yeah, it's. I changed
No.
shirts because I was a back sweating on this one, so I wanted a fresh shirt for this. So I had to go walk Ted. I
think
didn't want to
somebody
walk
needs-
out with a sweaty shirt.
I'm actually surprised. Like, I get that, you know, maybe in Milwaukee it's not super bad all summer and all year, so a lot of people don't have AC units. Like, they did, California's like that, right? Northern California, you don't always have AC
A
units.
lot of
in the
places don't
houses.
have them. Yeah.
And then last year, people died. Like, 30 people died because it got so hot and there was no AC unit. So, like, I feel like somebody should put an AC unit. It's just in the window. I don't need
yeah,
anything
well,
crazy.
Like I
I'm
mentioned
not asking you to
before,
sell 10 grand worth of stuff, like $300.
the dude didn't want to put money into a range and a fridge. He's definitely not fucking putting money into an AC unit. So I kind of saw that one coming.
he's
Then
definitely
maybe
not gonna
you
wanna
should
put
become
money-
a landlord.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're definitely not gonna want to put money into a fucking, like, insurance policy when somebody dies at your apartment because you didn't put an AC unit in there.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe he gets something out of it if someone does it as negligence. Who knows?
It's, sweet, get double the rent this year. Got paid once.
I let him
Person
know.
died. Now I can just
I let him know
do
there's
it
no
again.
AC. Like I lied to him.
If you die out of a heat stroke, I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm burning that house to the ground.
I mean, I don't know if I'd do that.
Why?
Nah,
Why would you
Your
burn the
dad's
ground?
Because fuck him, and it's the house that killed you.
There's a very nice couple that live right below me. I would just,
well, he didn't say he would burn it like with them in it. He would give ample
Yeah.
warning to like evacuate from
Just-
the house.
if it happens, just let them know so they can get insurance, and then you can burn the house down. How about that?
Yeah,
Sure. Yeah. However you want it to go in your
Let them get
will
insurance
is
first,
what
yeah.
I'll do.
yeah, whatever.
Just
whatever
warn
you
them.
want.
Give them a heads
So-
up, at least.
Okay. Maybe they have AC and you can go share it with them.
They do have AC, but I'm not gonna bother them. I talked about that already today.
Hey guys, it's very hot in here. Would you like to watch TV together today?
My tower, my Vornado fan works just fine.
I got some Star Wars episodes I'd like to watch if you want them.
Acolyte comes out tonight. Y'all want to watch it?
Oh, amazing.
Have you guys heard of this new show? It's called My Hero Academia.
Why is it when Preston decides to go downstairs because he's hot, or side by side because he's hot, all of a sudden
Get a
his
twang.
accent changes?
Yeah, get a twang.
Yeah, why did he just move from Milwaukee to
'cause, man,
Appalachia?
when you become uncomfortable, your roots come out, and he's a good old Washington boy, and it
Yeah,
will come
Midwest people love acting like they're from the South.
out. Especially people from St. Louis.
Well, especially people from outside of St. Louis and the farmhouse.
Louis, yeah.
That's true. You should probably say Washington, Missouri when you say you're going to Washington boy,
Yeah,
like not
you need to
Washington
specify
State.
Washington, Missouri.
Yeah,
Yeah, Washington, Missouri. boy.
Washington, Missouri,
So-
to really drive home the no people that were from there.
I know I live in Missouri, but I'm gonna talk like I'm from the South or from Tennessee, because we want to be cool like them. We're hillbillies, right? Hoosiers.
It is interesting here in Atlanta.
Fucking
You actually
God.
don't hear that many people from the South.
Yeah.
And so when you do, it's striking. Like, they're all over, right? But, like, I'm not going to Shoney's, so I don't... That's also very assumptive, so I'm not going to hear them. But when you do hear somebody with that twang,
Just
you're
like
like,
a rah right at Shoney's, just like letting them rip.
Shoney's is fine, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I think
But fuck,
last time
never
I was,
know.
if you guys remember, last time I was at Shoney's was in West Virginia. I was like essentially live tweeting with you all the observations I had. Like,
That's
great.
Yeah. It was pretty amazing. So anyway,
Yeah.
welcome to the pod this week. Let's kick things off as we do with Preston's comment corner and see what's going on over there.
Yeah, we got a couple comments actually. Start off with this one from a new commenter. They put it down as Z. They show another name here, but I don't know if they want me to put all that out there. But if you go on the youtube.com/the testing room, you can see all the comments on there. You can comment yourself if you'd love to. I'd appreciate it. It makes us feel good. From Z, if you have any other setup for Necro in D4 that isn't minion build, please share. The minions might be the best build this season, but I don't care. Going to try a different Blight build tonight. So I mentioned that I was doing a minionless build last time. So for Necromancer, obviously the big pull there is you get a whole bunch of Skelly boys coming out and helping to fight alongside you. But with this one, you're going to be focusing mostly on a Bone Spear, which says exactly what it sounds. Throw a big Bone Spear out. But you want to maximize critical percentages. So the way you do that is you sacrifice all your minions. So when you get the minion board, you got all your options of what different type of minions you can get, what the kind of attributes they'll have, and what they do. But if you choose certain ones, you can sacrifice them where they won't show up and you can't use them, but you get a big buff to your percentage on critical strike rate and critical damage. So that's going to be the main one you do. So it's pretty much just that, Corpse Explosion, and what's the other one? You do choose Raised Skeleton, but there's an ability in there for your critical rate, but you're not going to use them, but it does help your critical rate. Obviously, Bone Storm for your ultimate, and then you got Blood Mist for your oh shit button. It kind of just makes you go immune for a little bit, invulnerable. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, if you want to, you can go to me and Christian, check out wowhead.com. They got a bunch of good leveling guides there. This is the Bone Spear leveling guide. I'm not going to go crazy into it for you, but that's kind of the basis of it. You're going to be using Bone Spear the entire time. You're going to be using Corpse Explosion once some people are dead and you don't want to use any mana. And then you've got your basic Blown Splinters to kind of raise up your mana. Bone Storm for the fun ultimate. And then, just doing Bone Spear all day with your Blood Mist oh shit button. But yeah, it's kind of weird because it does like leave out a space in your action bar that you're not using. So what I've been doing is like if I get like an item that gives me a special ability, I'll just fuck around with that one and put it there if I want to mess around with it. You're not supposed to mess around with it too much because you want to use that mana for your Bone Spear. But I did get an item with it's for the Corpse Explosion, which makes it like a corpse entanglement kind of deal. So like if anybody's like near a corpse will like hold the thing steady. So that'd be nice with the Corpse Explosion. I did get an item that had that in it, so I'm gonna hold on to that item and possibly use that aspect later on for it. Because the like end game version of this Bone Spear does have you use that ability for that entanglement, which makes a lot of sense. So yeah, if you're looking
So
for
are you fully back in?
Yeah, we got over 50 the other day. Then we went we didn't do the Chalice Dungeon yet. Was it called Chalice Dungeon?
We did. No, we did.
We did.
It's the
just to get the tier build up.
it's the fucking Capstone Dungeon.
Capstone, yeah. Capstone Dungeon. And finish that off, so we got the World Tier 3 now.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun going through there. I mean, like we're getting like fun drops as we go through, different types of weapons as we go through. Leveling is just fast. It's fast. I think I got an average of like 3 or 4 levels per half an hour, 45 minutes. If we do all those Helltide stuffs, which seem to give us like the most experience, and then adding elixirs that give you like 5% extra experience on top of that. But yeah, I would say. I can't even guess on it right now, but I would say probably, a good 5-6 hours got me to 50. And some of that was
Nice.
me fucking around. Just trying to find Altars of Lilith and stuff like that too, just for potions and stuff. But, yeah.
Yeah, the new leveling is super fast and it's really fun. And they had pets now. We'll get there during our weeks, but it's coming along. It's
Good stuff.
Nice.
But yeah, that was from Z. Appreciate it. And then we got another one from Odin, a boy, a dungeon daddy. Says, "Hey Alex, I don't know if you remember me. My name is Jake. We used to play Halo together. I was just curious why you hate me and won't play with me anymore. Is it because I uninstalled Infinite? Okay, take care now."
Take care now. Bye then.
No, I was thinking about that yesterday I was traveling back from for work, so I was traveling in from out of town. I had a long drive.
I can,
And I was
Alex,
like-
if you'd like, I can answer this in a little bit more
No.
elegant way. It's
No,
that
no, no, no,
Final
no.
Fantasy 14 has Alex's nuts in a fucking vice grip right now.
Both of
And not
yours.
only is he not playing Halo, no, because I'm still playing other games. Not only is he not playing Halo, he's not playing Yakuza. He's not playing any.
Alan
There
Wake
is
2?
no Alan Wake 2.
I beat Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, but the
Congrats.
DLC's out, but you're not playing that.
You're not playing the DLC either.
You not playing the Final Fantasy 16 DLC that is out and went played, but you didn't go and play that. You are not. He is not playing shit right now. And I'll tell you this: by the time we get done with everything, it will be leading up to Dawn Trail, and Alex is going to say this exact phrase. Well, I'm only a week and a half out from Dawn Trail. It'd be really silly to start playing something else now. I guess I'll just keep playing 14 until Dawn Trail hits, and then I'll play that. Then once I finish it, it'll be back to business as usual, playing other games.
Yeah.
That's pretty
So anyway, I did play. I played other games this week, which is funny. Yes,
Halo.
Jake. So I had a long drive home yesterday, and I was like, "Hey, we said we would play Halo because they moved. So they quit playing Infinite, right?
They switched to MCC.
Did they? Okay.
Switched to MCC. I downloaded MCC on
do that.
my computer. But I think Jake said there's another part of it. Like I need to download all the games as well, right? In order, I think, to have all the maps or something, which I haven't done. So it's on my computer. I did that last week to do MCC. I was driving. I was like, shit, like I haven't played with Jake in a while. I need to hop on there. They probably think I just said like F those guys. And yeah, I mean, to Christian's not 100% wrong. It has been like, if I hop on early and he's, it's early, like I'll hop on. When before, I would play Halo with you guys, and then I would hop on 14 after. And when we swapped to Infinite, and then I got busy with work and had some travel, I just fell out of the habit. But yes, I do need to get back into Infinite. With that being said, Jake, and I'm not making excuses here, I also have been traveling a lot and have a lot travel for work all through July already. That's also made it tough because I can play 14 on the Steam Deck. I don't have like MCC or anything on the Steam Deck when I travel. So, because I don't own it on Steam. I only own it on Game Pass.
So you can do the
you
cloud
kinda-
version of Game Pass.
You kind of own it on Steam, considering that we have it on the family share plan.
I guess, yeah, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. I do, which is going to be great because I'm going to get rid of Game Pass. But yes, I know. I will, before you hear this episode, I'll try and at least play with you once. so that
Flying
we can
ass.
joke about it.
We have-
and can
we
act
have-
like
Find out.
We have
2 days,
Baltesian
tomorrow
Arsenal to
and-
do, and we have the Delivery of Savage to run, and we have Eureka Orthos. Why are you lying to this man?
Yeah, but we're not going to do it before work starts. We play before he goes to work. So we're not going to run BA.
Bro,
Before
we were
his
just
work
on
day
at
starts.
7:30 in the morning. What crack are you smoking?
Jake, I miss you too. That's all I'm trying to say. I miss you. I don't want to say anybody else's name because I don't know how they feel about it. But everybody else that we play with on there, who I got to know, I miss everybody. So yes,
Jake, what
I
he's
will make
saying-
sure I'm covering out time.
What he's saying is that you need to download Final Fantasy 14. It's a free trial all the way up to Stormblood level 70. So
I think it's more now, isn't it? Isn't it 80?
No,
or
it's
it'll be
Stormblood.
80 when Dawn Trail comes out. So yes. Anyway, there is that.
All right.
I feel,
Just play the
I feel
game.
bad about it. Just know that I do feel bad about it. I do think about it often.
I believe.
while he's there's a single tear coming down his face as he's logging into Final Fantasy 14.
Oh, it's definitely before. It's like, oh, what should I play this morning? Oh, God, I feel so bad. But then, like, I type in the token.
All of a sudden, all my worries go away.
Okay, we can move on.
All right. Yeah, that's all comments. 1-1. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
I knew that was coming. Well, I'll start off with weeks because I did play other stuff a little bit this week. So of course I played the 14. I'm not going to get into that. We're on the path to new expansion, and then we had the game that we're going to talk about tonight, which was fun and exciting. But I also dove pretty deep into Hellblade 2: Senua's Sacrifice.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Thank
Yeah.
you.
It was while you were
Thank
waiting
you.
for me to log on, but yes. Which
Yeah,
doesn't
but I played
really
for-
help your argument with Jake, but you know, if you want to dig that hole deeper, you knock yourself out.
No, but I did play for like hours. I would say I'm halfway, if not a little bit more.
Yeah, it's not super duper long.
I hear it's not super long. If it's 8 hours, I've played for 4, right? So there's no real way to judge. I haven't looked up any guides. I don't want to look up any guides, so I haven't seen any like chapters or anything. But I would say I'm at least 50%. So this game was my most anticipated game of last year, and it never came out. And it was one of my most anticipated games of this year, and it finally came out. And I'm enjoying it, and it's good, but I'm in a weird place with it. So there's more walking.
And there's no bunny girls.
There is no bunny girl. There's a lot more walking, which is interesting. And I actually, if I think back to Hellblade 1, there were 2 things that game really did. Of course, we know like the mechanics of her dealing with schizophrenia and like the voices that became characters on their own and like their own part of the game. But the other part that they did well was they did environmental puzzles, and they broke up the maps in a very linear way each time. So essentially, you had to go to like 4 different areas. You had to go to Hell, and you had to go to a couple other places like HEL, like Nordic Hell,
Yeah.
like Hell. And then a couple other places, all ruled by like these different Nordic gods that she was seeing. But essentially, you would go into a zone. You would have 3 paths. You would have one to the north, one to the west, one to the east. And that was it. And then you would go there and eventually like do a puzzle, and the last one would lead to a boss. And it was pretty standard every time. And it gave you the appearance that it was open world because you could see kind of like all the different directions when you came into an area and stuff, but it wasn't. Like it was very straight on. So it didn't feel like you were doing too much walking, and you knew when I got to every side, I would either have a puzzle or an encounter. So at least like you always knew something was right around the corner. In this game, the maps are still linear. Like I got into a zone the other day, and the story essentially took me in a little town to do a puzzle around the back of an arena, and then I circled back around and ended up where I left out. So it's still linear, but it's way bigger. Like way, way bigger. And because it's bigger, they don't pack it with a lot of stuff. There's not like, there might be some enemies in the first little area, but then there's no enemies. And then you're going to walk until you get to a puzzle area. And then when you do the puzzle area, you're going to walk through like some story stuff to get back. And it's just, it is so much walking. And because you can see where you came from and where you're going, like all the time, unlike in the last game, you just feel that walking so much more. There's 2 different things you can collect that I've found so far. Essentially, there's like this little tree of life sort of thing, and like it has a spiral on it with little dots. Every time you find one, another little dot lights up, so you can kind of track like if you've missed any or what you found. And then there are poems essentially, and it's like one big pillar with letters. Each time a letter lights up, like down the list, you get a little bit of a story. Those are the 2 things you can find. In one area, I found 4 of each of those between a puzzle or a set piece. So like I ended a cutscene, and it's like, welcome to the area, get to walk into the next area, and between me starting the walk to the next set piece, I found 8 total collectibles. That's how much walking there was. It was just like 30 minutes of just like walking around. Oh, I see this environmental thing. Press the button. Great. Now I found a puzzle. And just like F and A. So that has not been great. The story has been good. And the gameplay is great. Like it feels good and it looks good. But like the walking sucks. And then the other thing, I haven't read any articles about this yet, purposely, just because I kind of wanted to experience it myself before I did anything. I would bet you people are a bit down on the execution of this game compared to the last one, because the last one, the voices were the game, right? Like the trauma that Senua was dealing with was the game. So how she dealt with the voices, how she processed her trauma, how she overcame what they were saying, or maybe how they manipulated the situation you were in. That was it. This one, it's not the game. This one, the voices are there, and it's almost just like a feature of your character, right? So like your character has a sword and your character has voices, and like it is what it is, but there's no drama, there's no trauma they're dealing with. It's not furthering the story. It's just like, hey, in the last game we established she's schizophrenic, by the way, so like they're just gonna be chatty, like all they're there, Like you'll hear them, they're chatty, but like it's not really adding value to the story like it did the
Yeah.
first time. So again, I haven't read on it. I bet you though, if I were to read on it, there's probably a lot of people that feel like the execution isn't as good and are probably a little upset because I think when it becomes a part of the character's, I don't know, like asset list, right, and not a driving force to the story, it kind of loses its impact. It kind of loses its importance of like what they tried to do the first time.
Less
you know?
personality, more baggage.
Yeah, and not like, and again, but not like furthering the story baggage, right? Like
Just
she kind of
hanging
overcame a
around
lot of her
baggage.
Yeah, she kind of overcame a lot of that at the end of the first game. This one is just like, oh, by the way, like you're just gonna, we have this technology, and it was really cool the first time when people were walking around the microphone talking into it, so you could hear it 360 degrees. Like we're gonna do that again. It's like, okay, that's fine, I guess. So yeah, I'm in a weird place with it. It's really pretty. When the gameplay is going, when you're fighting, it's good, and the story has been good so far. But clearly, I haven't beaten it. We'll see how I feel when I beat it, and then we'll see if I read a bit about it, like if that changes my opinion, because I don't know what reviews are, but I can see them being good but middling. And with that being said, it is showing that the first game did not need a sequel. I was hyped for a sequel because I loved the first game. The first game does not need a sequel. There is no way, my prediction is there is no way the next Ninja Theory game that Microsoft has already approved, don't worry, the studio's not going anywhere, there's no way it's a Senua game. It can't be. Because this one doesn't need to exist.
Yeah, I don't think it is. But also, yeah, I mean, I don't, as far as its scores are concerned right now, it's definitely not middling. It's just not as high as the first one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Checks out.
So yeah, we'll see. It's good, but that's really where I put a lot of time other than 14. Like I said, I'm about halfway through. Hopefully I'll have it beat here the next couple days.
Cool.
So we'll see. The weekend's coming up. So
I go-
more time for 14 on the weekend.
Yeah.
I can go next because I played just a little bit more than Alex, but definitely less than Preston, I'm not sure. So
Can I just say one thing as he gets started, by the way? I know he plays other games, but if he acts like he is not as fully as invested into the shit that we're doing as I am, he is lying. So just
I didn't
Jake,
say that. Number
just
one, I
everybody
didn't say
knows.
that. But also, Jake didn't put a comment towards me. He put a comment to you.
I know. I just don't want everybody to think like Alex is over here by himself. It's problem because Christian is right there with me. We're both
No,
taking
and
it
most
in,
of it is,
right,
and honestly,
right to
most
the
of it
veins.
is, it's straight up my fault because I told you what I was going to do, and
Yeah.
you said I want to do that too.
Yeah, you were an enabler for the drug. You definitely.
No.
introduced me to it.
I didn't
It
tell
hit
you.
me hard.
I didn't tell you to do it. I just said, "Hey, I'm gonna go do this," and you were like,
Yeah.
"Well, give me the needle." I went, well,
You
okay.
just split it up on the mirror and said like, "Hey, this is pure. I'm just gonna leave it there. Don't
No,
touch
no.
it if you don't want it."
I said, "This
But,
is
like,
all
it's-
for
it's
me, but
there.
if you'd like some, you can have some." Otherwise, I'll take it all, which I was okay with doing, but it's been great that we've been going through it. But yeah, so like Alex, I'll just skip over the 14 part. There's no reason. We're at the tail end though. We can see the victory flag, and it's been very nice to see that coming up. Steam Neck Fest happened. So some cool demos have been launching, and I played about 8 of them, but only four of them stuck with me in any sort of way. So I'll just talk about the ones that stuck with me.
Same, yeah.
I played Conscript, which is a sort of like a Signalis style, like top-down isometric horror game, but it's based on World War One. So you're running through like trenches and like and you're trying to get the initial setup for the game is trying to get your brother to get him back home with you and your mother. Various things happen from there that I won't spoil, but it's a very cool premise for a game. Wanted to check it out. It's just as cool as it was described in the trailer. I'm very, very in. I played probably for about 45 minutes, got pretty far into it, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to do anymore. Like I want want to save it for when
Wait
it's
till
out.
you get the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's fucking awesome. It definitely has. It's very tense the entire time. Like there's a couple parts where you're fighting people with like a trench shovel, and it's just as stressful as you would think fighting a person with a trench shovel would be. Like it's wild. So that was really cool. Played that. I played Dungeons of Hinterberg. I don't know how much staying power this, like how long the legs will be on this game, but the initial playthrough of the loop that the demo gives was really fun. It's like an action RPG kind of is like one way to describe it, but it's also got a bunch of story stuff at the end where you're kind of just like it's like kind of marrying like an action RPG with like a cozy game, like like a Stardew Valley or like an Animal Crossing kind of thing. Like you have this loop of like going out and solving these puzzles, fighting these enemies, exploring these dungeons, getting like this sort of loop. But then when you come back to town, like there's like relationships and like talking to people and like choosing who you hang out with and spending your time that way and that kind of thing. Like I said, the loop initially is very satisfying. How long the game is or how many times it has you do that, I have no idea. And it could wear its welcome out very quickly or not, depending on how long it is.
Isn't that essentially like Harvestella, right? The Square game? Like, wasn't that what that was? Kind of like a Final Fantasy cozy. I think it's like a same thing like Final Fantasy, but like a cozy game, like a town builder sort of thing. So you go out and you do like Final Fantasy type missions, but then you come back and
this didn't really have any like town building though. It was just like it wasn't like any like there wasn't like it was just like it was just like the hangout portions of that stuff. Like it was just like I'm gonna talk to people, have conversations, like have these like in like a bunch of different dialogue choices to have stuff like that. But it wasn't really like super. At least so far, or the part of the demo that I tried, it didn't have like any town building aspect, but it was I don't know. Either way, hopefully it continues to go, or it like expands upon that more if it does get longer or whatever. But either way, it was very interesting. Totally check it out. The art style is awesome. Then I did NBB.exe, which is basically like a new spin on like a Bomberman kind of style game, but they do Bomberman but with like a 3D platformer. So like a Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper, like those style games, but then mixed with Bomberman mechanics. So like spawning a bomb to blow up a wall, like kicking it to get certain things, or setting triggers off to do certain. It's very, very cool. I was kind of surprised that somebody was going to like revisit the well on Bomberman and see what they could do. But this person kind of knocked it out of the park. It's very cool. Again, time will tell as far as like how they expand upon it, but the demo was super fun and definitely worth a look. Then the last game that I played was Metal Slug Tactics. For those who don't know, Metal Slug Tactics has been in sort of a limbo thing for a little while. It's for the last couple of years, people have been thinking that it was going to be coming out, but it just was getting delayed. There was never an official date. It was just like, we're working on it, and everyone's like, it's been a while, please come out. And like all the trailers and stuff look really cool, but it's coming out at the end of this year. But they put the Steam Next Fest demo up, and it fucking rules. It is basically like a roguelite tactical game. So like Into the Breach, which I talked about on here before, that game is also fucking awesome, but it's basically Into the Breach but with Metal Slug aesthetics and characters and all sorts of stuff. It's awesome. I dug it. I don't know whether it will work for people or not, because obviously Metal Slug is typically a side-scrolling beat 'em up action, like a shmup game, so this is a little different kind of format, but I think it translates perfectly to a tactic style game, and all of the Metal Slug like aesthetics are all over this game, so it's awesome. And then played Street Fighter. We had a little fight night.
Yeah.
Kuma's out. So we went and checked that out. Akuma is still doing Akuma things. Just if he catches you with certain things, that's 75% of your life gone. So, be on the lookout for that. But it just felt so... I got really... I was like, man, I kind of just want to play fight. Like, anytime that we play fighting games, I'm always like, God damn it, why am I playing other stuff and not playing more fighting games? Fuck this. Like,
I want to be better.
It's just... Yeah, it just gets me right back in. So, but everything's still great there. The huge balance patch hit, so all of our characters got some new tech, new things, new stuff, new combo routes. So that was all cool. And then, like Preston mentioned, played some Diablo 4 that new season, getting there. So that's cool. And I think that's it.
Okay.
Pretty sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, like Christian said, played some more Diablo 4. Got past that level 50, so we can get that dungeon to get us to World Tier 3. Had a lot of fun with that. Good level build that I had for that Bone Spear. Doing me a lot of good. SF6, played a lot more Cammy. Doing a lot better, I feel, with Cammy itself, just as far as getting her bread and butter in. I still can't put in a special to save my life, but that's okay. Every once in a while I get one of those in there, so it's happens.
The problem is that you have this weird thing where it's easier for you to do bread and butter combos on a regular controller, but you can't do a super input to save your life. But when you use your stick, you can do supers all goddamn day, but it's harder for you to do the bread and butter combos. You're in like this weird limbo area between the two.
What happens is, for me to do with controllers, so like a lot of times when I want to do my specials after I've done, what's that one hit called? Is it the Drive Rush? Not Drive Rush. It's
Drive Impact.
Drive Impact, to where it slows down a little bit, you get the hit off, and it kind of stuns the person there for a hot second, which is a great opening for you to do one of your specials, especially level 3. And if I stop for a second, I'm like, okay, I got that, and just slowly put in the input and then go through, I'll do it. But if I'm sitting there trying to do it like I'm doing, how quickly I'm doing all the other moves, I'm like, okay, now quarter circle, X. Yeah, I didn't hit it. Cool. So I'm now just jumping over the character and swinging in midair, not doing anything. And the shitty part is Christian knows I'm trying to do it because he sees my character crouch forward. And I'm like, God damn it. He's like, you're trying to do your special? I'm like, yeah, it's not working. But there's some of the times that I felt I could have gotten a win in if I would have gotten that special out. But that's okay.
And we were playing with a bunch of people that night. It was really funny because there was a couple times where Preston would get him with the Drive Impact, and all of them were prepared to eat a super at that point. They're like, oh, here it comes. And then Preston's character sort of like twitches in front of them. They're like, okay. And then so they start beating the shit out of him. Yeah. And I'm always like, oh, man. Because in their head, they're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. Preston fucked up. That's what happened. Take your win. Take it. But I was doing pretty good. At the beginning. I was getting a lot of wins in. I had a good 7-win streak. Just going through people. And then people started getting wise to my shit. And then I started getting my shit pushed in. So that was fine. It's okay. Yeah, SF6 is great. And then I played a little bit of a little game called Nine Souls. This is like a platform action game. I haven't played a whole lot of it. I tried playing it while my sister was in town. She's like, you can play a game if you want. I'm going to watch Drag Race. I'm like, okay, I'll play a game. I tried playing it, but we kept on having conversations. I'm like, I can't play this game. So I put it down. It looks really good. The little bit I played so far is pretty solid. I'm looking to play more of it. I just remember seeing a trailer someone was talking about. I saw a trailer for it. And it was really good. I'm like, how's the parry? And they're like, the parry's super forgiving. I'm like, that's what I wanted to hear. So let's go at it. So I'm getting into that now. So that's my next main game that took over after Tales of Kenzara. But yeah, I also did a bunch of Next Fest games. So we got a couple of them. Number one with the bullet, Aero GPX. If you've ever played F-Zero GX for the GameCube, this game nails the gameplay feel. It is pretty much F-Zero with less Nintendo flash and money put into it, but it has the feel. That's all that matters, is that it feels like that game. So
I told Preston, we were playing Diablo, and when I was scrolling through looking for demos, I saw this one.
You mentioned it, and I didn't know which one it was until I found it. I'm like, oh, this is the one he was talking about.
Yeah, we got on Diablo, and I was like, hey, man, I don't remember the name. I was like, but just so you're aware, there's an F-Zero thing out there. I was like, I'm just telling you because I know you're going to want to check it out. And
yeah, it was great.
You and the 90 people that paid
Hey.
for an F-Zero remake
Hey.
on Nintendo. They're like,
least-
yes, we
at least
finally
give
have
us-
new content.
At least give us 99, okay? There was F-Zero 99. At least 99 players were in that game at one point in time, so there's at least 99 of us, okay?
Well, hopefully then this game will have 99
yes.
buyers.
Hey, they would probably actually really appreciate that, but hopefully more. But yeah, if you remember last year, I talked about Star Racer. That was like the SNES F-Zero, kind of like a influenced one. This one's definitely more of like the GameCube version influenced. It's got a lot of fun characters. Soundtrack is banging. Soundtrack is great. Stages look fun. It's not obviously this is a demo, but we'll have a lot more once it comes out. That's number one. Immediately put on my wish list. Like I played like 2 tracks. I'm like, cool. I don't need to play any more of this because I want to play when it's out. Wish list. Let me know when it's out. Kind of deal. Second game I played was Sono Kuni. This is like a Hotline Miami like, so top down pixel art, but they describe this one as biopunk Japanese mythology inspired, and it has an incredible homemade hip hop soundtrack with it as well. So it's very, very cool. It's got a lot of style to it. If you enjoy Hotline Miami, this is a lot like that. You get a slow down and you do bullet parries, which is a lot of fun. So it's a lot of crazy stuff going on the screen, but you have to slow down a little bit to kind of get your thoughts in and get those parries out just right. So it was a fun little demo. Next one I played was Akimbot. This is pretty much Ratchet and Clank with robots. Like your main character even has like pointy ears that kind of go up and down like this a little bit, and it's like okay, it's like if you put a robot skin on Ratchet. So that's pretty much what's happening here. And you got a little robot
I think
guy that follows
exists in
along.
one of those games.
What's that? Oh, I'm sure. Yeah,
I think that already exists in one of those
I bet.
games. So.
Yeah. The cutscenes are like surprisingly well done as far as animation quality. So I was playing them like holy shit, this is kind of PlayStation quality as far as like how well produced this like animation is, this cutscenes. And I even saw like PlayStation had a trailer out for it. I'm like, okay, well PlayStation doesn't hate this. That's such a ripoff. But I was playing a little bit. The gameplay feels fine. I had like to tune up the horizontal movement for the joystick because it was just going way too slow. The gunplay just seems all right. For something like this game, you kind of want the gunplay to feel really good because you know you're going to get a bunch of cool guns, hopefully. But it felt all right, and the writing is not good. The writing is like, you're like, oh, nice cutscene, and then he starts talking. I'm like, it's all very generic action platformer. Your main character has an attitude, and he's like, whatever, dude, I don't need to have this conversation. And like the bot dude is like a little high pitched, squeaky, and always cracking jokes and shit like that. I'm like, this is very paint by numbers as far as that type of game goes. But
I think
Writing is hard.
Yep, I was gonna say no one quite like every part of making a game is hard.
oh yeah,
Absolutely,
For sure.
Like, there's no, but one part that I think people overlook all the time is writing.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
sure.
people can be very forgiving about a lot of different parts about a game, especially if you make some of those as an artistic style choice, right? Like,
Sure.
you know, hey, I want this to look like shit. Like, it's supposed to look like a crunchy PS1 game, right? Like, you know, people can, oh, okay, well, this is what you're going for, then you're fucking nailing it, right? Like that kind of thing. But writing is one of those things that it's pretty binary. It's either good or it's trash.
Yeah, this is not
Yep.
this is not good, not good at all. So, it was a fun little kind of thing. I mean, like I said, looks great. I have a couple other games I haven't tried out yet. There's one called Steel Seed, Odin Fall, Test Drive Unlimited. But there was one I wanted to try super bad, but it didn't work very well on Steam Deck. It didn't look like it had controller support or anything like that. But one called Taxi Rush, which is pretty much just fucking Crazy Taxi. I'm like, Christian, you gotta check this one out. This is my recommendation to him. I talked to him before the podcast. But if you look up a video of it, it's just straight up Crazy Taxi. Like without the soundtrack, I'm assuming, but they probably got a decent soundtrack as well. But yeah, you're in a taxi. You get to choose a couple different types of cars. You're going off like crazy ramps. The people in your passenger car are like going, oh, or flying out in and out of the car. So it's.
But is it keyboard and mouse?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't tried it on the actual PC yet. I tried it on my Steam Deck, and it wouldn't control anything. Because anytime you do like these Next Fest demos, 9 out of 10 of them are going to tell you, hey, it's not made for Steam Deck. It may not work here. And you're like, whatever. I'll give it a try, though. And that was the only one that actually didn't. Like, it booted up, but as soon as I got to the menus, I couldn't navigate anything. So I tried pressing the touch screen, going to like controller support, stuff like that. I couldn't find anything on there, so maybe I missed it. But I'll try it on PC later on, hopefully, if I get to it before the demos are down. But yeah, that was something I do want to kind of try. 'Cause I think that would be, if you could do a crazy tax game, it's fun. I'm down. I'm ready for it.
It says it does work with controller, so it's probably just a Steam Deck. It just,
thing, yeah.
just probably doesn't support Steam Deck. The soundtrack looks like, or sounds like, legally distinct.
Okay, fair enough.
Crazy
you
taxi.
need.
I mean, this whole game is
all
legally
you
distinct.
need.
It's called Taxi fucking
Yeah,
Rush.
but like you can't really claim a taxi. Right? Like, people can just drive a taxi, but like, it's basically like, what if we found a way to do what's the public? It's
Public
it
domain.
start. This trailer is public domain Offspring. That's
Oh,
that's
fair
what that
enough.
is.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looked interesting. It looked good.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than that, nothing too new. Nothing else too new. My shows, but don't need to go into those because I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody. So, but yeah, that's it. It's my week.
Talking directly to Alex there.
That was saying, please, for the love of God, watch Acolyte so I can talk about this. And I know.
To be fair, like I don't have to talk about it because I really don't want to spoil it for anyone else out there either. But Acolyte's still good. I'm enjoying it. Jake feels differently. We talked about it. I told him I can't convince him of anything, but I did try to soothe his mind by giving him some of my Star Wars knowledge and how I felt about what's going on. So once you get through, at least get through like episode 3. Once you get through episode 3, because that's what kind of set him off. And we can talk. We can side talk on that one. I like it. I think it's a good show.
Yeah,
It's
but-
not a
but
Filoni
to be
show, that's
fair,
for sure, but it's a good show.
Was there any question that you wouldn't like it?
There's always a slight chance that I might not like it. But not now that Filoni is like head of story at Lucas or at Star
Yeah.
Wars. Like I'm not worried. I'll probably like most things. Book of Boba Fett was just I liked Book of Boba Fett, but I understand that it's not a great show.
I mean, they introduced Vespas to
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you had a biker gang, but instead
Yeah,
of
they-
bikes,
that-
they were on
yeah.
Vespas.
I know.
All the colors and everything, like green and red and blue.
I'm well aware. He had a Rancor in the middle of Mos Eisley. You know who cares? It's fine.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Hey, I said it wasn't a great show. I enjoyed it. I didn't like how they took. I did not like how they did Boba Fett, but it was a fine show. I enjoyed the ride. It's not my favorite show for sure.
Yeah.
Fun fact about that show, I found out the intro to that. Did you know? Is Dave Filoni did that? It was based off of Patton Oswalt's character in Parks and Rec, describing his character
version,
in that.
yeah.
His version, Alex, you remember what I'm talking about.
Yes.
His version of how Boba Fett comes back and how he was going to do a movie. That if you go to the intro of Book of Boba Fett, apparently it is shot for shot exactly how Patton Oswalt describes it. And Dave Filoni brought him on set the first day and was like, "I'm doing this for you. Like this is specifically for you."
Yeah, it was a good
That's
idea.
funny.
To be fair, yeah.
Yeah,
That's funny.
yeah. So
Okay.
I thought that was when I saw that and I was like, "That's cool."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Go
we
ahead.
don't often have short weeks, but short weeks. So let's get into our part 1 of our video game book club, our newest game.
Yeah.
Brought to us by Christian.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Comic Headquarters. If you are looking for a trade paperback or hardcover, the guys over at Comic Headquarters can help. Even if they don't have what you're looking for, they'll offer to order it in for you. Visit comichqstl.com today, where you can contact them and order that trade paperback or hardcover that you've been looking for. Or give them a call at 314-433-5449. Let them know that the testing room sent you, and you can get 10% off your order.
Yes. Ace Combat 7, Skies Unknown. So, we are going to... I'm just going to go through the whole story very quickly. Not the whole story, but like the story that we
up
played,
to
obviously.
now.
Yeah.
Up to what we... No. I'm saying the parts that we played. And then we'll just go through and how we felt about each mission afterwards. Because, obviously, it's lighter on the story front in this game. So there's stuff that happens, and we'll talk about it all.
I think it was light. I was hoping you would clear up some of this. Just
Yeah, same.
Before we
I
get
will,
into it,
but-
can I ask you
okay,
some
first of
questions?
all-
Can I ask you some questions about not the game, but about the franchise? Like,
Can I'll say one thing because it might
Okay.
be part of it, but then yes, you can. Although I don't know how much I'll be able to answer because
No,
it's
they're not hard.
like it
They're easy
matters.
questions.
But
You'll be able to answer.
so just so everybody knows, this game takes place on Earth, but it is an alternate reality, or so that they don't get so that the developers and any publisher does not get in trouble for saying any real life country names and doing anything like that. So it is. You will hear people in the game talk about Earth or say something about Earth, but everything else has a different name, different
Sure
countries, not real.
Yeah,
It's legally
you're-
distinct. Please don't
one's
fight us
essentially
and send a bomb.
Eurasia, like Europe and Asia. So it's also, I don't know if you guys noticed.
It's
this is a little
Eurasian,
thing.
but
Everything
and they
is
say
a shin.
Sure. If you notice, this was hilarious. So the map, right, to your point, Christian, is like an amalgamation of the Earth map that they've just like
Yes.
moved shit around.
You see little
But there's
Japan over there on
definitely
the right
like
still? Yeah.
there is definitely like Lake Superior, like it just like in the middle between two continents, like turned on its side. It's like, oh well, this is like a big sea or ocean. I'm like, that's just Lake. I know that lake. It's just turned sideways. I can
Yeah.
clearly tell that you just did that.
Look, man,
so no, I just,
you got to
I
do
had-
things to not get your country bombed. All right,
So
I get it.
I'm not going to hold it against them because if anybody saw the new Top Gun movie, Top Gun does the exact same thing,
Yeah.
right?
This makes
There's,
me
like, a
want to watch
nefarious
that
country.
movie. I haven't seen it yet.
They never. It's fine, but they
There's
never
good.
say like we're gonna go behind enemy lines and like this country. It's always like that that country, right? Like we never say a word.
Yeah.
We never say who's bad. We just call people terrorists. Say like that country, right? It's anyway. Yeah, I had a couple of questions, and you can answer these. Every one of these games is different, yeah. So like you don't need to play 1 through 6 to understand more
Correct.
about 7. So they're all individual. Okay, that was the first question.
Yeah.
The second,
the only thing that comes between them is you will country names might be mentioned between them, but they usually are so many years. It's like real world. Like
okay.
wars are so many years apart that like it doesn't like knowing about World War II era France does not help you about like the Iraq War, right? Like it's
Okay.
two different times.
But like it's not a one necessarily cohesive story that you have to like, oh, I've played through every game.
Correct,
So
no.
Okay. So the other question is this game the first one that maybe they kind of changed up the style and the look of like cutscenes and other stuff? Wasn't it before like a visual novel kind of like anime-y, people coming in from the sides and talking? This one has like full-blown cutscenes and stuff like that.
This one
Is that
definitely has
new
the
to
most.
this one?
This one definitely has the most production value out of any of the Ace Combat games. Typically, the story is done. There will be. It was a lot of like still shots. So like, you would have like a voiceover over like a static image, and then like that's like a slideshow would happen of like different images. Like like oh, we're out on the air. Like people are out on the airstrip right now, and there's like silhouettes and people are talking, and then it cuts
Okay,
to.
yeah.
Oh, now we're inside a base, but it's still like a static image or things like that. There was never any character models that were opening their mouths or doing anything with their hands or anything.
It's kind of like a
along
visual
those lines.
novel, right? Like you would have a character here, and like you might see a
Even
picture
lighter,
of the
even lighter
Okay.
than that, because it was usually like a shadow silhouette. Like there was never like a character design. Like it was just like people, like just shadows of people talking, and then you would get the same kind of story delivery that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, which is mission briefings, mission endings, and then chatter in the middle of the missions.
The area.
But this one is, like,
this
legit.
world is called Strange Real.
This reality is called Strange Real. Yes.
Yeah, but this one has legit production value. I mean, there are cutscenes, there are
Yeah.
characters
Mhm.
moving around. Okay, so was this then like? Would you call this game a kind of revamping of the franchise? Is was this a new direction for them, or like, oh, it's 7 and this is the tech
was-
we have now? So
It was less about a new direction and more about, I think that it had been people. There's 7 of these games, so
I think I
people,
played like 3 or 4, like something on a
people.
PlayStation 2 or 360 like years
Yeah,
ago.
people love these games. Like, and if you look at all they all outside of 1 or 2 that were, well, it doesn't matter. But outside of 1 or 2 that might have been developed by other people, all this other stuff, almost all of them score very, very well. Like these games do well, and so with obviously to your point out like new technology, things like that, they just really wanted to go for it, and so they did.
Okay, cool. Yeah, those are my questions. I just
Yeah.
I didn't know that much about the series itself. Like clearly I've heard of it, and I think I played one years ago.
Yeah. Most of the one, and actually here I can even tell you. Yeah. The one that most people played on the PlayStation 2 is called Ace Combat 5, The Unsung War. That one is, outside of this game, probably...
It was a platinum hits, wasn't it? That's probably
Yes,
the one I played.
it was the most popular. People love that one. I loved that. It's incredible. But outside of this
I
one,
know
probably
I've
it's
heard of
it's the most popular. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Cool.
if that's
All right.
if you played one on PS2 and somebody told you to, or you saw it and had it, it had a bunch of awards or reviews, it was probably that one.
Oh, that one. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So, yes, to this reality is called the Strange Reel. They never say that quite outright. It's just something that the developer has said before. It doesn't mean anything, and you can just safely ignore it. But I mean, it doesn't. It's never going to come up again. So you can think about it all you want, but it'll never come up in anything.
I'll bring it up.
That's you. You sure can. It's yeah. So then we. But this game starts out, so we are part of the IUN. I'll give you 3 guesses as to figure out what organization in the real world that is copying off of. We are working as part of, so the IUN is obviously a giant peacekeeping force that has multiple nations in this world giving troops to, and Oshia gives basically 50% of the IUN is just Ocean troops. And so we are the newest member of Mage Squadron. So Mage 2, or our other call sign is Trigger. And we... Yes? Do you have a problem?
No, I
with
said
the-
sure is. Like, 'cause I didn't start talking to me about calling me Trigger until that last episode, the last mission. That I remember.
Oh, but you see it in the beginning of when you launch your plane in the first mission, you have the fox that has the
Yeah.
line, like the blade in its mouth, and then it says Trigger right there.
Oh, I must have missed that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yes, but Mage 2, Trigger, they'll use that, sort of interchangeably for a little while here. But you are, the mission, or the game opens up immediately with a surprise attack from the Erusian forces here in the game, where a squadron of them, there's a squadron of bombers that are threatening to bomb the Fort Grays Island, and we have one of the IUN, or it's either one of the IUN or one of the Ocean native aircraft carriers is sunk. The Albatross is sunk by the attack. I'm doing this, but you are fighting off those forces while you are, learning the basics of the game. And at the end of this mission, as you are repelling these forces, you hear the Princess of Erusia declaring war and sort of selling it to her people as that you attacked them during this, and there was a bunch of different towns that had been hit, and that's why they're declaring war, is that Oshia was fighting them, and she just sort of tells her people, like, yep, so we're going to go to war now. And you have a little chatter with the people there that were like, what the fuck are they talking about? Like, we didn't do anything. Like, we were just sitting here. So it goes from there. Next mission comes in. And, I should say, in the middle of this, the whole reason, or at the beginning of this, we are getting the story from 2 perspectives. So the person that we're playing as, Trigger, is a lovable mute pilot that will not be speaking at all, much like our good friend Artyom in the Metro series. He will not be speaking at this, but we are also getting the story from the perspective of a Ocean civilian, and sort of getting the perspective of this story from 2 points of view. So we're experiencing it as one of the soldiers, and then also her perspective when she was restoring her old, or her grandfather's old drag race ship or plane to try and break like the speed record. And on its inaugural flight, she is actually she pulls up in the middle of this battle, and the IUN don't know what the hell, she didn't put any sort of IFF thing on this. And she even says right before, she was like, I really should have put an IFF on this fucking thing. And then she gets shot and smoked and, it gets taken down. And by the time she lands and someone finds her, because wartime had started, she was charged with breaking wartime airspace rules, and she was thrown in a military prison. And she was charged. At this point, she's put at, and we find out the name of this base later, but this is the 444 Air Base, which is basically a dummy decoy air base that the Ocean government is using to sort of like, it's like a honeypot, like trying to attract attacks to it. But it's actually a really funny cutscene where they're lifting the she first gets she first gets to the prison, and they're talking about, she's describing how when she gets there she realizes that it's just basically like a giant con job, and how all the the pavement is painted on the dirt, like it's not even a real pavement, and everything from the planes are old junk planes that barely don't work, but they're just shells that are parked out there, and all the trucks are just giant balloon trucks, but they look real from up in the sky, and so it looks like it'll work.
There's like 8 people like lifting one up by
this giant balloon is so funny. But yes, I love how goofy this can get. So so that's, we're getting that story at the same time. More or less, though, for these first 5 missions, what I've just described from her point of view is that's it. Like she's in this prison the entire time. There's one other part that I'll touch on at the very tail end that deals with sort of these stories converging, but we'll get there. So mission 2, you meet up with Golem Squadron, so another set of pilots in the IUN. And we are going to take out a Erusian forward air base. So we're going there, and in the briefing for this mission, they talk about how one of the main things. So Eurasia has taken over. Not only has taken over the giant space elevator that is used for, has a ton of economic value in the area and all this other stuff. But they've done it with a bunch of UAV drones, so pilotless planes, and everybody is still trying to figure out not only where the fuck they got these things from, but how they have so many. And it cuts to a scene showing how they've been slowly planting a bunch of these cargo tanks everywhere that basically
big shipping containers.
Shipping containers. That have been sitting everywhere and basically have had these drones just waiting in them. The top drops off, and then a fucking little ramp comes out, and these things fucking shoot off. And there's one other method they have for these that's just fucking crazy in the next mission. But so they do all this, and they launched this giant counteroffensive, or they launched this giant offensive after the princess declares war, and takes over key points all over Oshia. Everywhere. You basically lost like a third of the country within like a week. It goes very quickly. So we're going to take out a forward air base from them. As we are going through and taking out the different transports and things like that, Erusia launches a bunch of UAVs to try to deter us. But we're badass Top Gun pilots, and we kill them all, or shoot them all down, I should say, because there's no pilot in there. And so then after we do that, everybody realizes like, okay, we're gonna really need to start like one, we have to move we have to get the space elevator back quickly. Like, if we don't have that, we will not only be running out of resources, but money and everything else very, very quickly. But we also need to take back all of the places that, have been taken over by Eurasia very quickly.
Do they say, like, they try to explain the space elevator, but they don't really. It doesn't go all the way to space. It's more like a monument tower or something. But they do say it helped with, like, some environment or something. I just didn't get the purpose of this, like, random space elevator building that we care so much about in this.
So it is, basically, from what I understand, is the space elevator, the reason that it is so prominent is that it is the main source of energy throughout that entire country. And also, so what it does is it is the primary, its primary purpose. There's a couple other things, but the primary purpose is to transmit all of the solar energy that it gathers up in the atmosphere and then disseminate that to all of the power plants out in Oshia. Okay. So free energy, more or less.
That makes more sense because they're like space elevator. It's like, but it's not. It's just like it's a really tall tower that goes into the sky, but like it's not connected to anything. It's not taking you to space. And
yeah, I mean, I'm sure the very top of it. I'm sure the very top of it basically probably feels like it's at space.
Sure, but in like a movie, space elevator might take you to like, a base floating in the right outside of our atmosphere or something. It's not like that. So I knew this helped their country in some way. I just missed what it did, and that makes more sense. It's collecting solar power. It's like a big solar power farm. Yeah, and
it helped them during it. It was basically they used all of that energy to basically fund the reconstruction of their country for Oshia, like early on before this invasion. So,
and it's like a feat by their president, like the guy that made it happen. So it's
Harling, Vincent Harling is the guy who is commonly known as who got everything. So everybody sort of sees him as a hero. But yes, there was an attack earlier. There was some damage that was done that caused a bunch of damage to Oshia. This space elevator is basically what brought enough economic prosperity to rebuild that country and sort of and also bring back a bunch of economic wealth and everything for the region. So with I'm blanking on the name now. Well, sorry, with Eurasia, I always want to say Eurasia, but so it's very close. But Eurasia took that over because not only did it's very close to them, so they take that it being there is like it's a slight to them in general because they see this country next to them that is, has all this stuff going on, but also it being so close in proximity. So that was one of the first things they took over to be able to own that and then also, use it for themselves. But yes, we are teaming up with Golem Squadron again and other Ocean squadrons, to be fair. There's some other ones that we hear during some of the chatter. But there's a two-pronged retaliatory strike that's going on that we're going against Eurasia, which is there is going to Golem and the other squadrons are going to attack a bunch of aircraft in the Schoppenberg region to secure air superiority in the area to basically cut a path for a lot of our planes. While we are going to be supporting a bigger strike in the Quechua 2 area, trying to take down the Arsenal bird, or one of the Arsenal birds, the Liberty. And we have found out that this thing basically holds a brand new style of UAV drone from Eurasia that it holds thousands of them by the looks of it. It's this massive.
This plane is very cool. It has a very.
This dude's so sick. Thank you. Okay, I'm glad.
And like,
guys, so
and like the
cool
big,
looking.
Like, force field around it that like you can't. Shoot
We'll get there.
through.
We'll get there. Yeah.
Very cool.
We'll get there. But yeah, so it is. It's this just like I can't even describe how big, but it's almost like a Halo size ship. Like it is very future sci-fi
It
kind
looks
of thing.
like a glider too, in like its shape. It's like very
Yeah.
U-shaped, but then when you,
You know
look
what,
close in
and
the back, it's got a ton of propellers. and it's very cool.
You didn't see this movie, but Preston, you'll remember this. Do you remember the sci-fi movie we went and saw a little while ago?
The creator.
The Creator. Thank you. Do you
I
remember?
watched that. Rude. I didn't see it with you, but I watched
Oh, okay.
it.
I didn't, well, you never talked about it. You never said that you went and saw it. So how was I supposed to know? But okay, so then So either way, the ship that they used to hunt down robots, it reminds me a lot of that ship. Like
It does, yeah.
the way that it sort of just like cruises as it goes through it kind of reminds me of that one. But its main trick, outside of having a fuck ton of propellers and other defensive and other flying things, and plus a crazy shield that we see. It houses thousands of these UAVs that sort of just drop out beneath the under of its wings, which is very cool, and especially the way they launch, because the doors sort of just open up. These UAVs just drop and then they fucking just go like immediately.
Yeah,
like
it's like a
there's
hive
no
on most of them.
Yeah,
Big
dude.
beehive.
And it's a sword. And there's a moment where when you're flying through these mission, or when you're flying through this mission, and I know we're gonna get to gameplay after this, but I'll just talk about this part. There's a moment through this mission where when those wings open up and it lets all those UAVs out, dude, the amount of targets that you see on your screen becomes immediately overwhelming. Like you're like, oh my god, to put your point, Preston, it's like a swarm. Like you're just like, there's so many of these fucking things. And there's they talk about it in the chatter and everything in the mission. But you start trying to bring it down. Your mission is to try to take down the Liberty. And when you start to feel like, okay, I've taken out a good number of its propellers, I think I'm getting somewhere. I think maybe we can bring this thing down. A crazy ass impenetrable force field comes up, and you are very quickly outmatched while this is happening. So really quick, I'm just going to pause for just 1 second to ask one question. How many people, because this happens a lot on people's first playthrough of this game, so we'll just, because I did it on mine, so we'll just raise your hand. Who tried to fly into it to think that you just needed to shoot it inside?
Oh, I didn't think that was
Only
an
time I
option.
died.
Huh? What'd you say, Alex?
I think it was the only time I died.
It's okay. Hey, we're all being honest here. I did the same thing.
Is there like a dock?
Because I was like, no, but you're just like,
No.
you can't shoot it from the outside and it's round.
Oh,
so
you
if
try
I
to
get
drive it through the
inside of
shield.
it,
Yeah, no, I didn't
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
mess with that shield. I
Yeah,
knew
yeah.
it was. If my bullets aren't going
If
through,
I-
I'm not going through.
you never know.
I play a lot of Star Wars. I know it's those shields you can't just drive through a ship.
Bro, let me tell you, I felt the exact same way. I was like, well, maybe maybe he just wants me to get in close, and like that's going to
Yeah.
be the hard part of this
Yeah.
mission, right? And then the second you fly in, every piece of your plane starts flying off, and you're just taking so much damage, and it becomes very apparent very quickly, I have made a mistake. This is not what this game wanted me to do here.
Nope.
So yes, but during this part of one of the pilots of Golem Squadron is told to break off and try to retreat and make a retreat with other of the Ocean squadrons, and an unknown pilot comes in and tries to is following her and following the rest of the squadrons. She gets the other squadrons to safety, but she's trying to break loose from this person, and he is just not having it, and ends up shooting her down. And this part was actually kind of crazy because during this part, she tries to call out to the Golem Squadron leader at first, but then obviously during the mission, Mage 2, like we've been kind of being badass as hell, and she at the very last second calls out, Mage 2, please, like, come help me, like, get this guy off me. And that was the last thing she sort of says.
I was going to ask there, when Golem 2 gets shot down, because of the way, when she's asking, like, come help on my mini-map, she was, like, in the northwest. And
Yeah.
I was following the big bird, like, in the center, right, or something like that. And the game kept saying, like, hey, Golem 1, come help, Golem 1, come out. And then she's like, Mage 2. And I was like, okay, so I'll start to leave and go get her. And then she got shot down. I was going to ask if that was scripted or if you could have saved her,
Yeah,
but it
I'm
sounds
curious.
like that was scripted.
It was scripted, yeah, and you wouldn't have been able to save her. And the main reason for that is that if you would have tried to leave and go do it, to my knowledge, all of the UAVs would have smoked everybody else that were in that area, and you would have lost by virtue of all of your teammates dying. So it wouldn't have worked out either way. But we hear a very gravelly, unknown voice from this pilot, and all he says is, "Bandit shot down," and then returning to base. And that's it. In the middle part of between this and the next mission, we find out that this is the Eurasian's sort of star ace pilot, that they are using his flight data to train all of their UAVs. So why their UAVs are, and it is said during this portion that the UAVs still haven't even gotten close to the data that he's been giving them. But you know, it's going to take some more tweaking, and they think that they can get there. But this is where you find we're now getting we're getting part of the story from the Eurasian point of view. So one of the scientists working at their bunker, or one of their bases, and he's working directly with this ace pilot, who more or less his part of the story is, you know, back in a different war with the one of the Eurasian wars. He was, before the monarchy took over in that country, he was part of the older sort of like regime or anything like that. When the new monarchy took over, everybody was so sort of impressed like with how he had handled things and everything like that, that they let him keep his noble status and everything. And then when the war kicked off, shortly after that, he just signed up as a regular citizen, like was like not, you know, and just wanted to become part of the Air Force. He then makes his way to an ace pilot. He retires, and then during this, right before this particular conflict kicks off, is when they bring him in to start training all these UAVs. But he had heard about us in this, and he wanted to see if we were the real deal or not, and flew into this part of the engagement, and then made sure to, you know, leave us a little parting gift by taking down Golem 2 while he was up there. So this next mission, this one's probably my favorite. Although I really like this mission 5 too, but this next mission is probably my favorite. So this next mission is partially a sneaking mission, and then it sort of opens up from there. But this is, so we are making a conceited effort to go right after the space elevator, because the country is not doing good without its resources. Obviously, if we've become dependent on solar energy to the point where it's disseminating all this energy to all of our power plants, it's probably pretty bad when we can't get that very quickly. So we are going after that, and not only are we going after that for that reason, but we're also going there because the former Ocean president, Vincent Harling, was there on a visit before the Eurasians attacked, and so he is there, we believe, held as a prisoner, but nobody has heard from him, and nobody, you know, obviously Eurasia is not wanting to give up that information or talking to us at all at this point. So we just have to assume that he's still alive, but we're going there to potentially attempt to rescue, but more importantly, liberate the space elevator. And you get a whole bunch of chatter just really driving home how much people like Vincent Harling and how awesome and cool he is, and that he's really, really everybody's special boy that everybody loves. They really want you to know.
Which means he sucks. He's going to suck.
Well, we'll see. So, but you are flying through, the Eurasians have set up just basically all these giant air radar dishes everywhere. And you are basically flying through some cloud cover and other things, some of the open areas, to basically snake your way in without anybody being able to see you or do anything. There are some really cool shortcuts that you can take through this zone that are basically just exactly the width of your plane, and the guy will sort of, your operator will sort of call and be like, "Hey man, that's pretty badass. I saw that. It's pretty sweet. Like, good job." But you can also just take the long way around. No big deal. They'll be calling out to you. They call you at the 1/3 mark, the halfway mark, and then the final stretch. And
Do you guys get to a point to where like you got to the halfway mark and you got to that last third mark really quickly because you found that little path at the very end?
Yeah, I took a couple of shortcuts.
Yeah.
yeah, so I was saying is there's shortcuts sprinkled out through all the way out there that if you want to take, you can.
I like this.
that
I kind of
are-
like slow it down a little bit. You're not fighting a whole bunch of shit here. Just kind of navigating through
it's
it.
cool.
I like that a lot.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, but
I zoomed out on the radar on this one, so I saw the spiral. And
Yeah.
yeah, when I saw like there were cut throughs, I took those little cut
Yeah.
throughs.
yeah, but it's cool, right? Like, you see like, and some of those cut throughs are a little bit narrower, so you're like going in. Now I will say I got to ask because I should have asked this at the beginning, but I want to ask now. What
How are
control?
you
What control style is everybody using, and then what difficulty are we playing on?
So difficulty normal, control. What do you mean control style? Like
So at the beginning, no. So control style. So at the beginning, there is easy or expert, but it's not, But basically, the difference is if you use left, your plane will just go left, right? Like you'll just do it. If you're using the expert controls, that will control the rotate, and then you pull back on the stick to then go left. Like so.
Oh.
Are you
Yeah,
flying
no,
it
I'm
easy,
definitely
or are you
doing
flying it
easy.
like a plane? Okay.
I'm definitely doing easy, right? So
And that's how they describe it. To be fair, they describe it like if you want this control style will be for somebody who's never played an Ace Combat before.
Yeah.
This other one is for people if you've played a singular Ace Combat game in your life, then this is the one for you.
yeah, I did easy, and then of course I'm doing the. I've gone back and forth between the view, depending on the plane. I'm either flying with nothing but windshield, right, where it's just your target, or I'm inside of the plane. So like, there's a couple. Like I don't do the like over shoulder sort of thing. Or where you see the model.
Crazy.
Like, I'm either in it, and then the first two planes I got, the F-16 and the MiG, I did inside, but then I upgraded to a third one, and there was just like 3 or 4 bars in front of me, and I was like, I can't do that.
You're
I
flying a
gotta do the
TIE
windshield.
fighter?
Yeah.
Like, no, I went outside.
But I'm looking through the windshield the whole time, or seeing the controls around me as well.
Okay.
You monster. Right on.
I just thought it'd be fun. I thought it'd be
Hey,
fun.
no,
I've never played a game
do
like
your
that.
thing. I'm not. Yeah, do your thing. I do the third person view because that's how I've always played those games. That's what makes sense to me. I also like being able to have a little bit of situational awareness. VLC. I do think that there is. I know a lot of people who use the view that you're using for immersion specifically because
Yeah.
you can control sometimes like when you look like you'll look out the window and
Just, like,
stuff like
glance back.
out the
It's
side
weird.
window. Yeah, we're just no. Hey. I'm all for it. I can't do that because I would get so mad if I couldn't see the thing that I was trying to look at. But I think that I know a lot of people who do that just for the sake of immersion.
Yeah. So I chose easy mode, and I also chose easy controls. I've played Ace Combats before. I know that I'm not the best at them, so I definitely didn't. The thing that was kind of making me, do I want to go normal or easy? Issue is that they don't let you drop the difficulty. So I'm like, okay, let's start with easy. If it gets bad on easy, we'll go to easy casual, which is like just pure story mode. Like if I have to, I'll double back to that. But let's start out with easy. Easy's been fine for me. Definitely do the third person in the background because I want to see those the environments. The environments in this game are phenomenal. Like, I mean, you can see those in your cockpit, but like I want a bigger breadth of what that game is doing. And that view.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah. So we're going through that. I just wanted to check because that sort of changes how you would go through this spiral area. Like for me, there was a lot of turns that if I had went sideways and started pulling, like I might go too far. So using the left bumpers or right bumpers, you can control like the actual things, like sort of drift, like Tokyo drift the plane and do like that. So depending on some of that stuff. But yeah. So you go through all these anti-radar or the anti-air radars. You make your way to the space elevator, and then once you have cut the path, Golden Squadron is and Gargoyle Squadron, for that matter, are on their way to help you. But you have to be taking out the defenses at the bottom of the space elevator very quickly before they get there because they don't have a place to land. The helicopter the helicopter part of the squadron will not have a place to land and rescue the president if you do not, get rid of all the anti-air stuff. So you kill all of them, and you do that. Now, I don't know how you guys chose it. I just went through. At first I brought some of the air-to-ground missiles in this mission, and we'll get to some of the loadout stuff after we get through the story pieces. We'll talk about all the gameplay stuff after this, but. I brought some of the air-to-ground missiles to this mission, but then I was like, I was finding it easier just to use the regular missiles and just shoot one at each target and then just go through and just smoke them like that. Like it went a little bit faster. So I went and did that way. Also machine gunned a couple of them because I using the machine gun for me is like the most like insulting thing that you can do, because the missiles are like, they're auto targeting, they just do it. But if you're like if you're on this like a plane's ass or anything like that, and you're just like you can hear, it just feels really good to use it. And like sometimes especially if you're at a distance and you're like leading the shot, right, like shooting, and the bullets like and you can watch them go, it's pretty satisfying, I think. But you take out all those forces, they go to land to rescue the president, they secure the president out of the space elevator they're going, and Euretia decides that that is certainly not going to be cool with them, and so they launch a bunch of the UAVs, the MQ-101s, the ones that came from the Liberty. They launch a bunch of those, and you very quickly have a fight on your hands, where they are targeting and shooting at the helicopter called Mother Goose 1 that is holding the president in it. It's also being flown by Colonel Johnson, one of his right-hand men, who admits very casually over the radio that it's been a very long time since he's ever flown anything, not helicopter notwithstanding, but he's going to try to do his best and get everybody out of there. And part of the way through the fight, Colonel Johnson is hit, and the president takes over the controls and he's attempting to return back to the space elevator, and people believe that it's because obviously he's being surrounded by a squadron of UAVs, and so everybody's like, hey, everybody like secure Mother Goose 1, like get these UAVs off him. They're trying to get President Harling to answer. And just when you were about to take out the last UAV, a rogue missile comes out from nowhere. Looks like it could be potentially from your plane. We know that it was not from our plane. We might find out about this later in the story. But to everybody else in the squadron and every other of the IUN fighters, the closest plane to them or to him looks like it was your plane that shoots a missile and completely explodes this helicopter, killing everybody on board, including everybody's favorite former president, President Harling. And
As far as we know.
As far as we know, yes. They're pretty clear that he's dead, but yes, it exploded over the ocean. But yes, sure. However you want to sell it to yourself. Either way, all of that. There's a bunch of another strike comes and starts hitting parts of the space elevator. Everybody's like, what the fuck is going on? And very quickly, they have to order an emergency retreat. And when they're doing that, they're asking, hey, be honest, was it Mage 2? And they're like, look, he was the closest plane. Like, I don't know. And this is one of those situations where I think it'd have been very helpful to not be mute, but also there's not a whole lot that you can do in this situation anyway. But you are blamed for firing that missile that hits the helicopter, and you are immediately court-martialed and sent to the 444th Air Base to serve your time. When this is where some of those stories converge, right? So the civilian that we've been following during this portion, during her part of the story, she's been talking about how she's been trying to escape this entire time, and they keep, pulling her back in and forcing her to make these planes. Her plan is to make a plane that is not only looks real, but is real, and she's going to use it to fly out of here. And in the middle of this, she says that an ace pilot just got transferred there who was court-martialed, and the whispers is that he's the one who killed President Harling. But we are now part of Spare Squadron, and we are taking on the new moniker of Spare 15. And Spare Squadron is basically a group of prisoners that are pilots from different parts of the Air Force, different times, all that stuff. And they are being used by this air base to sort of really help sell the illusion that it is an active military base with things, so that it keeps the honeypot, real and keeps people coming. And during this time, when he's there, the Eurasian fighters are on their way. Bombers are on their way to take another bombing run at this base. And you and the rest of Spare Squadron are asked to fly up there and just sort of give them a good show. You're not allowed to fire at anybody. You're not allowed to, take any planes down or do anything. You're basically just told, like, if you get shot down, you get shot down. Go fuck yourself. But at least make it look like it's real, and hopefully they'll leave. That there's some resistance or something like that. And in the middle of this, one of the bombers takes out the control tower, and one of the pilots in Spare Squadron is like, "So, you gonna let us fight them now, or?" And they're like, it's going back and forth, and people are arguing, and then one guy just basically takes over and says, "Yeah, fuck this, we're doing it," and unlocks everybody's weapons, and you're basically off to the races, and you're in a competition with a couple other members of Square Squadron who, really want to try to put you through the paces to see if you're as real as the rumors would have them believe about you, as far as your, being a good pilot. And I believe this is a competition that you can lose. I don't know. I think it's just a dialogue change of them being like, "Yeah, I knew you were just a fucking all talk and blah, blah, blah." Or if you win, he's just like, "Damn, I lost a lot of money because I was pretty sure that I was going to be I was going to be better than you." And that always feels, because you're like, "Yeah, fuck you." So you basically push back that force. They retreat, and you save the base. Everybody lands, and then they all basically go, "Well, we were pretty sure that you were going to die, and we had bet a lot of money on that. So we all lost a bunch of money." And then one of them makes a comment being like, "Hey, so he has to land his plane to be able to collect on that bet, right?" And they were like, "I mean, yeah. Why are you asking? You plan on shooting him down right now?" He's like, "No reason. Just wanted to be sure." And in my mind, I'm like, "We can get this going any day. You just turn off your friendly tag reader, and we can make this. We can get it on and popping right now, because I'm way better than all of you." You get a bunch of praise from the other members of Spare Squadron that are like, "Damn, this dude is, the real deal. He got a bunch of the bombers, everything's cool." And that is where we end story-wise for the moment. So we are currently falsely accused. We are in a prisoner air squadron, and we are still trying to, find a way to fight the good fight, but we are with a bunch of ragtag individuals, as opposed to, sort of the nice, clean-cut soldiers that we were with before. So that is where we're at story-wise. So before we get into that, or actually here, I guess, before we get into the gameplay portion and all that other stuff, just brief, what it has it garnered any interest from you whatsoever, or what are we doing?
The game is fun. I am into the game. The story was a bit confusing and overwhelming at first. This has helped, and I knew, like, the girl's story I could follow, right? The female protagonist story I could follow pretty easy. And then I knew the whole, like, clearly it's easy to follow, like, oh, they think I shot down the ex-president, and so, like, that's simple. The amount of information they throw at you at the beginning between Eurasia and Oshia and all that, like, that was a lot and overwhelming. I was like, okay, clearly there's a war. I don't understand why the war started. I don't understand who invaded who, like, what country, but, like, all right, I'm on a side, and I just know I need to do that. So, like, I like the game a lot. I like the gameplay a lot, which I know we're going to talk about more. And I'm into it. Like, I'm totally into it. But there was a while there where, like, I know the protagonist story. Beyond that, I just know there's a war going on. I don't really know what else is happening here. So.
Yeah. I mean, and for the most part, all we know, right? And that obviously, it's going to get deeper as we go. But
Yeah.
for the most part, we are at the very beginnings of a war. I mean, the war caught the IUM by surprise anyway. Like, it wasn't an invasion that anybody was expecting from the first place. So it was all it all happened very quickly.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty much the same way. Like, I'm digging the look. I'm digging the way, it plays. It feels good. And playing on easy, playing with the easy controls, it feels more like an arcadey jet fighter kind of game. I didn't want anything too complicated because I want to kind of go with it just having fun. So I'm having that fun. I'm enjoying it. Again, the story is kind of, I could take it or leave it. It's nice that it's there to kind of give you something. I'm kind of pissed off that they're like, oh, it was him. I'm like, I wasn't even aiming in that direction. Like, there's clearly like readouts and stuff that kind of show you maybe what my vehicle was doing, because this is a government issued jet. You know what happens with your jets, but they're like blaming me. I'm like, okay, well, fuck me then. All right, we're here. This is what we're doing, I guess. Now I'm like, have to take all the hits because, Jesus, hiccups. But like you said, the fucking mute main protagonist. So not much you can do about that. I could care less about the fucking female protagonist. Like, there's nothing happening with her right now. I'm sure maybe I'll be interested later on when they converge and what happens with her and us. But like, I care less about that story.
So to Preston's point of like, they should know what's going on playing and stuff. That's part of the reason why I look around and go like, there's clearly something more here going on.
Sure, probably.
It's a
yeah.
bigger setup.
Hopefully.
And I think Harling, right? So like, I agree. And honestly, I actually kind of agree with the statement about the girl too. Like, she's telling me about her, unless this amazing fighter pilot on the other side that's training these drones is going to end up being her grandfather, I'm still wondering why I should care about her.
Yeah, I mean, you play as her once, I think, with that drag ship. Like, that's your tutorials. You play once with her, and then after that, it's like no more. It's like, okay, we're playing this other character then. Like, okay, well, we're here now, and then we keep touching back to her and giving little bits and pieces. Which, to be fair, I think her story is better than the overall war story. But still, I just can't bring myself to care at the moment.
I thought it was going to be a timeline thing. I thought she was going to be talking about her grandpa, and like maybe that was when we were playing him, and then her. But then they end up at the same base. I'm like, well, that's not it, right? So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But I agree. I care more about our Mage 2 right now than I do about her, because I'm just like, but why should I care though?
Yeah.
Right.
So I will say, obviously, we're only at mission 5 out of 20, so we're very early on.
Yeah, time. But.
And also the same way that it's just there is also more will happen, and
sure.
but also it's giving you different perspectives too, right? Like that's why they were they showed like when the princess went to the Eurasian base and was there. That comes, but it was all that's right. I'm like. But when there's like when it cuts to that scientist or the scientist point of view, and he's talking about the older pilot, and he shows him, sucking down air and getting all this other stuff.
Kids are there.
The kids are there, and like his granddaughters are there, and all that other stuff. So it's also just giving you extra points of view throughout the different parts of this conflict. But yes, we're obviously very, very early on in the game, but yes.
They also do, I know we're not talking about the loadout yet, but it is an interesting mix of like real and fake technology they do, right? Mm-hmm. So like they have these UAVs that are fake, like the ones they're using, and then like some of the other technology with the big warbird and other stuff. But then like
that part's real. I mean, UAVs today can turn on.
I'm saying
that's because there's no person in them.
But like the way they look and like the big warbird and other stuff, the big force field, like that's all fake and so on. And then they do the little futuristic piece with like the grandfather, and clearly it's a different reality. But then you mix it with like when you get to the tree of like F-16,
a MiG,
like a MiG and other stuff. Like I know those are real, right? So like it's this weird thinking of like futuristic and also real stuff. So
well, that's the thing, right? But that kind of still is like how it goes today. Like there's older military technology that's still in use as far as planes and ships are concerned. That even though there's newer things out, a lot of those older things are still in service, and they'll continue to be until they get retired or whatever.
A lot of near future as well.
I guess it's more. I think it's less a problem of like future past, and more an interesting design choice of fake reality, real reality, right? Like, why would
Yeah.
you not just rename stuff to match like this alternate reality that you have?
Yeah,
Because
Versus
the plane,
choosing
the
to
plane
keep-
files guys, the guys who love jets are
Yeah,
going to be able to
yeah,
fly,
yeah. I think
fly
yes.
the planes they want to fly, and yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
more that, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's
for
what I
sure.
thought was
Yeah.
interesting. So-
Also, some of those designs for those planes are A, timeless, and B, cool as fuck looking.
Sure.
So
Sure.
you just,
Yeah.
you're like, and most people, I will say, not everybody, but most people play in the third person view, so they get to like appreciate what those
He
planes
gets
look
to
like. but
appreciate the
you-
cockpit. There's
yeah.
a lot of work that goes in those cockpits.
I agree.
It-
Yeah,
it-
absolutely.
So it is funny because like any game, racing game and other stuff, I always do third person. But going into this one, I was like, I just want to try. Like, I
Try
want
it
to do
out.
something different. I want to be more.
Yeah,
immersive,
do your
so
thing, man.
I did. I took it out of
Yeah.
third person.
And I know a lot of people do that, especially for like immersion reasons.
Oh, yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
really gets them into it. So I'm not hating at all. If
It's-
you like it, I love it.
It's wild. Like you were talking about, feel like a badass. Like when you see yourself drifting and other stuff. Like on that same mission, I felt the same way, but different. As I'm like in the cockpit, like mostly flying by radar to try and dodge stuff. But then when I start just looping around the space elevator, and I'm just like air to ground missiles and other stuff. It's wild, and it's funny too. I think it's harder when I'm in that view to make low passes.
Oh,
but
sure.
it feels
Sure.
wild when you make a low pass. Like if I've run out of a rocket, I'm like machine gunning something and quickly like pulling up and banking off so I don't like hit a tower.
That's how I
hit
died
a
2 out of 3
billboard.
times. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, did it crashing?
Because I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm running missiles. I'm going to start diving and getting them. And I'm like, oh, I can't pull up this fast. Apparently, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's got to be that low angle, right? And then you bank off. You
Yeah.
can't dive down it. So, but yeah, it's fun.
So, and that can lead into our next discussion. So from the gameplay perspective, obviously, I think that is, especially in the beginning parts of this game, I think that's where it sings. This game, it plays fucking incredibly. But also, I also wanted to shout out. I know, Preston, you mentioned the look, but also I think the music in this game is great. There is moments where, especially when you're doing the crazy like drift or the brake, like the air brake turns, where you are holding accelerate and brake at the same time, and you basically are just stalling your engine to be able to just spin really fast and go the direction that you want to go, and then you let go and the jet takes off. That was actually something funny enough. That mechanic was in a game called Tom Clancy's Hawks, for a long time ago, and it was really, at the time, it was really pushing the arcadey feel of like, you know what, fuck it, we know that today, like in that time when that game came out, this would definitely kill somebody. But we don't care. It looks cool as hell, so we're going to do it. And so you'd be able to fly, press this special button, and your plane would sort of do this cool ass fucking and bank really fast and turn and go. Now, with today's plane technology and certain things, that actually is a possible thing that people can do. And so Ace Combat was like, oh, well, if it's real now, let's do it. Like, we'll do it. And so they've added it into this, and it is fucking awesome. There is nothing of a better feeling, in my opinion, of a plane. Like you go to make a pass at a plane or whatever, and you go to shoot them. Your missile misses or your machine guns miss or whatever, and they blow by you, and you're like, oh god. And normally you'd be like, okay, I gotta fucking try to outmaneuver them and get my way back in. But you can fucking hit this handbrake turn, flip your plane, go, and then you're right back behind them and just right back on their ass. And it feels really good to pull that off and do that. But I think one of the main things I really, I remember, this is not my first time playing through the game. This is obviously your guys' first time playing through. But one of the things I had forgotten until I got in there was I really love the music in this game and how it fits a lot of the moments where, especially like in the first mission, as you're flying through and you're defeating these fighters, it has a really good way of like getting those big swelling orchestral moments, like, as you're potentially getting out of a dive bomb, right? Like, and you're coming back up and you're just seeing the open sky in front of you, and it does the theme and everything, and you're just like, man, all this is working right now. Like, I am, I'm locked in and I'm going for it. So, but yeah, just curious, how are you guys from the gameplay perspective? How are you guys liking it? What do you guys? And then we'll get into some of the more mechanical things in the
gameplay.
End here,
feels great. I love the handbrake turn is awesome.
how does that work in the cockpit view?
It's I mean, it works like normal. It's just everything, like your whole viewfinder goes sideways. Like everything goes sideways
Yeah.
when you're moving that way. But compared to what you were just saying, a slow banking turn where you'd have to fly out, bank, and then come back in, it's faster, but it does. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably slower than how you experience it because you are just looking at the sky, but it makes sure to versus just slowly turn. It just puts everything vertical, like boop.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So with that, the thing that I think feels really nice, like with every plane I've bought, I'm really careful about my loadout, making sure I'm bringing surface to or air or air to surface, depending on what's needed. But I've also, like in the planes I've bought, gone ahead and upgraded like the missiles.
Yep.
So I'll have more. So dude, there's times when like you're flying around, all of a sudden a fight breaks out with like the drones or like a whole squadron of fighters come in, and you're flying and you see them come in, and I'll just like prep and I'll just like bank a little bit. So I just engage them at the time they're coming in a Y, and it's just like Y target missile, Y target missile, Y target missile. You see them like and just like destroyed, and then as you go flying by, you're like, man, that feels so good.
in that moment, have you guys tried? There's obviously the special weapons that they let you unlock. Did you try any of the 8 SAM missiles where it splits off into it can go into 8 missiles?
I bought them, but I'm not sure how to activate them necessarily. So like
X or square, depending on whatever controller you're using.
Okay, so I thought X just went for me. Yeah, I guess it was between the 8 SAM and the normal missile, but I didn't notice it breaking off into a bunch.
So when you have enough targets, and a specific mission that this happens on is when you're fighting the Liberty and all of those fucking drones come out, you'll see 8 red squares pop up, and it's like doo, 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 and you can press it, and then 4 missiles drop down, and then they split, and it all goes to 8, and then goes after them. It's very cool when that happens. But anyway, so yeah, I didn't know if anybody else tried that one.
It's very satisfying.
Yeah.
Very. So that's pretty much same for me. The ground to air, or air to ground, was a little bit more tricky for me. I was having a lot of issues with like trying to remember which button was a target button and which button was a switch weapon button. And I would always get them mixed up because I'm wanting to switch either. The way to switch weapons is that X. The way to switch target is Y. I would get them flip-flopped all the fucking time. So I'd be every time I was like, oh, okay, we're starting with ground units. I'm like, cool, let's switch on over. Okay, what was the targeting? Is it the bumper? Is it the, oh shit. Okay, well, we're going to take it on the second turnaround, I guess. And that's kind of how it would happen every time I had ground fights. But it all felt very good. I remember the training for the secondary weapon. You get that 4-banger missile loadout. And that's what I kind of brought into that one mission to where it was very satisfying being like, yeah, those guys are coming in. I'm like, okay, switch it over. Wait for the 4 to light up. Once they light up, let it go, and then rip off for somebody else that I wasn't targeting later on.
And I don't know if it's because we grew up in an era with like Top Gun and things like that, but man, there is a part of my brain that when you hear the lock-on sound in the plane or whatever, and then you see the thing and you press and the missile goes, you're just like, this was really cool. This is giving me the good brain juice right here.
It's giving me the Independence Day vibes when they say like box 2 and stuff like that. I'm like,
yes.
Yep. I'm like, we need DLC right now to where you have to go after the big mothership. I want it. But yeah, it felt good. I would say I didn't have too much difficulty with it being on easy mode. You definitely can tell that they're giving you a little bit more leeway when it probably comes to rockets coming in at you. Definitely when you get hit by them, it kind of doesn't do as much damage as you think it would, which is a lot nice because that was my issue with some of these games, like especially the previous ones that I like dabbled in, whether it was a demo on a PlayStation disc or something like that. I would die pretty easily. I wasn't very good at these games.
Sure.
But other than that, it plays phenomenal. I really like it. Pretty good.
Yeah, so on the normal...
I was going to say, there's only one mission that even took me up over, honestly, up over 10% of damage. And I actually think it was the space elevator with all the ground to air stuff.
They got some SAM sites, yeah.
The drones
I think I got up to
swarm of drones,
60, 70% damage, but it was super, a lot of leeway, right? I was fine.
And I didn't even know about the whole, using both the brake and accelerate to, do the drift. I'm always just okay, I'm going. If I need to turn around, let's say someone flies right past me, I'm just laying on the brake and then turning it. It turns faster than it would be if you had the gas on, but I didn't know you could slam down both.
Oh, dude, next time you play, do both.
Boop, 180.
It's badass. And you'll see a bunch of...
happy, yes.
When you're doing it, too, you'll see, the clouds like forming around your plane because you're breaking
Yeah,
like
the
it's
stream, yeah.
like an air break sort of. Yeah, so you'll see the airstream come out behind you. So like it has a trail that fall like as you do. It's badass, dude. Yeah,
I
you
must have missed
definitely gotta try that next time you
Definitely
play.
gotta need that.
But yeah, so the last part I want to talk about is sort of this midpoint. Just in Alice, you mentioned this part, so we'll just go through it quickly. But it's just an extra piece of this game that I think is fun. Is you just get to sort of customize your own plane and like build out a play style of like how you want. So every mission that you go through, you get ranked S through I think it's S through D. And then obviously F being a failure, like you just don't you just don't get to the end of the mission. But you can get right through there, and based on your ranking, you get a certain amount of money, and the money at the end is used. You're able to spend it the way you want. So you can buy new planes, you can buy special pieces for those planes, you can buy special weapons, you can all sorts of stuff, and it is this giant. They call it the aircraft tree. But each sort of piece, it kind of honestly works as like a RPG sort of like sphere grid kind of deal, where you're unlocking pieces to go to different nodes and that will unlock certain different things. And there's locks for certain requirements, once you reach this rank, this one.
That's a great way to say it, because I don't think I've ever played a game. Monster Hunter might be the closest where I've ever seen a bigger skill tree. This is like the sphere grid on Final Fantasy X is bigger. This might be the next biggest like skill tree I've ever seen in a video game.
Yeah,
it's kind of overwhelming at first because
I
I'm
didn't
like,
even
what the
zoom out.
fuck?
I just kind of paid attention to the first handful of chunks. Like, I didn't even like go over yet.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot.
So
Well, they can add to it too, because like right at the end you get those like 2 extra ships that are just next to like on that left side section. It's like, oh, any other ships that we want to add to the game, we're just gonna put over here in your Bay Area.
Yeah, and you can do a lot of those in like free play just to fly around with them and see how they were like going fast and doing other things. So you have they have a bunch of stuff, and you can take some of those. There's a multiplayer mode in here, so like you're fighting against like a team deathmatch style thing. We're obviously for the purposes of this book club, we're not going to be dealing with any of that.
With the skill tree, are you supposed to just like have fun, do what you want? Do they expect you to do New Game Plus and unlock it all? Like that was my thing. Is like I was kind of overwhelmed at first, and I bought I think 2 planes, maybe 3 planes for different purposes, but like there's like 30 planes, right? And I'm just looking at that, I'm like, I can't do that in 20 missions. So what do they expect out of that?
Yeah, you just have fun, do what you want. It's literally just, it is all about you as the player. Now obviously as you go through a New Game Plus or you go and replay missions or things like that, you can get all of it, and then you can have like the super ultra thing with all the super ultra parts, and that is a lot of that is how you can go through and get very easy S ranks through missions when you go to replay them. But no, it is solely based on your prep. You go through, hey man, like, because it all comes down to play style, right? Too, like everybody's going to play these games kind of differently, and what they lean towards more, and how they like to play, and how they like to like. I am a type of person who I value maneuverability over everything. I don't. It's honestly the same way that I play like Armored Core. Like I like to be as fast and agile as possible. I want almost nothing to weigh me down, and even if it comes at the cost of me having less missiles, I don't care, because I'm not going to miss, because I'll always be right behind somebody, and they'll never be able to get away from me, kind of thing. Whereas there's a lot of people, like you can buy like one of the crazy ass bomber planes in this, which you're just a fucking tank, and you're just like, yeah, I'll be slow, but I've got 500 missiles on this thing, and you'll never be able to stop me. Like at one point or another, I will catch you, kind of thing. Yeah, it's all about. Now, obviously, there's certain planes that do really well for certain missions based on their setup or things like that,
right? So, like, if you're doing a ground bomber, you're probably doing a bomber if you have that unlocked.
But most of that is you can do whatever you want, but also listen to the mission briefings, and they're like, hey, there's a bunch of surface targets that we're taking out. Okay, well, air-only missiles aren't going to help me. Like an 8 SAM isn't going to help me here, right? Like I'm not going to be able to do anything with that. But in general, outside of very specific things like that, where if you're like, oh, this is an air-only mission, why would I bring ground missiles, right? Like that ground targeting, that would be stupid. It would be a waste of my time. But in general, yes, it is very much I am as I'm going through this skill tree, I am discovering how I like to play, and so I am going to be looking for nodes that allow me to do that.
Gotcha.
That's it. Yeah.
Cool.
No, there's no weight to those decisions whatsoever.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. It's good so far. I'm excited to go. I don't know if I owned this game on Steam already because I picked it up I think a year ago
Yeah.
on a winter sale for like $7 or something, and didn't play it then. I know there's a Maverick, like a Top Gun Maverick DLC for it.
They did do a DLC for it. Yep.
I don't know if that's free. I was gonna say this is one of those games where I could see myself like once I beat the story, we're done with our video game book club. Like maybe I'll play that DLC too. And who knows? It could just be cosmetic stuff. Like it may add nothing to the story, and maybe it's just plain stuff.
I don't know if it adds anything. I can really quick, Preston, while you're giving your
Yeah,
final thoughts
for
on
sure.
it. I can look it up and I'll let you know what it.
But yeah, it's good. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm
Yep.
excited to see where it goes. And yeah, that's what I have.
Doing it so far as well. I mean, like we kind of talked about the story. That's kind of my only gripe about it is that like the story I can kind of be. You could almost have no story in here. I still would be enjoying it as much as I do now. The names. I mean, you're talking to somebody who likes Star Wars. It's funny I'm saying this, but like the names of the countries are a little much, and they're very confusing. They're not helping me differentiate where it's coming from, what's it doing. This Asia, this Shia, that Shia. Like it's like everything has like the same like last.
There's two, and one is on the left side of the screen, and it starts with an E, and there's one on the right side of the screen.
continents. I just looked it up.
Asia.
Yes, but the ones involved in this conflict
Oh, okay,
are.
all right, yeah.
Oh, this Asia,
Yuktobania.
that Asia.
There's a place called Wello that looks like fucking Greenland or Iceland. I can't tell. But yeah, it's again the story in the world I care less about, but the gameplay and the look of this game is what's bringing me in. It's what's wanting me to kind of play this next section. That's pulling all the weight in. Honestly, that's enough for me. Like the look is. I mean, there's that one level you had to where it's like slight cloud coverage, but if you go down beneath, you can see all the god rays that are happening there. It's like a swampy, marshy land. It looked phenomenal. Like everyone's fighting up in the sky. I'm like, well, I might want to take a swoop down there real quick just to kind of see how it looks and kind of go through there. It looked really nice. So
Yeah.
So far, I think they're nailing the timing too. Like none of the missions have stayed around too long.
Yeah,
It's
for
between
sure.
11 and
And
14
they
minutes
won't.
per
They're
mission,
not-
So
Yeah,
so I
they're-
think that's
that's-
really good.
Yeah, they don't do. I mean, like typically the only missions that can be kind of long is usually. It's not the case for all of them, but usually it's the final mission, and not but by long I mean like instead of 15 minutes it might be 25 minutes.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
not. But there's just a lot that would be
Yeah.
happening during those things. But typically no. So the Top Gun DLC, by the way, really quick, is $20. Because the price is controlled by Universal, whoever
Oh, yeah.
is the Top Gun
I'm not-
property holder. Yeah, if you go
Don't-
through all the
don't
other
care,
DLC,
$20 worth.
yeah, if you go through all the other DLC, it is a lot cheaper and sometimes free in some cases. But this is the only one that has not changed. It is all 6 planes from that, and then they also include all of the original planes as well from the original movie. But yeah, I have to imagine that you have to be a pretty massive Top Gun fan to want
You
to
have
see
to
that.
have,
which
you have, to
some
have just a
people are.
mustache
How?
to buy that DLC.
How often do they come out with these games? Like, are they working on one now, and we expect to see one like
4
another-
years ago.
Man, yeah, this one was 4 years ago. It's not very often. It's usually, there was a fuck ton during the PS2 era.
Sure.
Is this all the studio does? These games?
I think so. I don't know if they've ever done another, because it's Team Ace. So I don't think that they do anything else. But it's kind of like, think of it like a Gran Turismo or a Forza. Like they come out basically once a generation, maybe twice, for the most part, outside of the
nail
PS2.
the sim part of it. And,
Yeah, the PS2 had a fuck ton, and there was a PSP one, but they will come out and do it's usually once or twice a generation. Basically, typically you'll notice them at like a beginning and an end of a generation kind of thing, like, here's us leveraging this new technology, and then here's us mastering this new technology. Same way the racing games do, that kind of thing. So they do that, but the story always gets kind of bonkers, and there's always kind of crazy stuff that happens, while also escalating the gameplay in levels in ways that you're just like, holy shit! Like there's so much going on right now, and I'm trying to go after it. Obviously we're all playing on different difficulties here, but for my difficulty, during that UAV portion, I don't know how it was on easy, but on the UAV portion when we were fighting the Liberty, that missile detector on my plane never went off. I was always dodging missiles the entire. And you're just like having to always look at the radar and see the white lines coming and go, okay, how close is it? Do I have time to do this before I break off and get away from this thing? Like, it's all, there's all sorts of stuff. It's
there were
awesome.
a couple of those missions too with the UAVs where like the battle's happening around the space elevator, but if you want to get some extra cash, you can fly like over to the dock area, to the shore, if you will, and you can break
take out some of those
and other things, right? But man, if you choose to do that, those UAVs do not leave you alone.
Not only do they not leave you alone, but they're also peppering the rest of Mage Squadron and Gargoyle Squadron to really give them the business.
Yeah, they're brutal. So
you can't lose full squads like permanently, can you?
It wouldn't be if you lose. To my knowledge, if you lose all of your friendly squads, you just fail the mission.
So I want to say that
restart.
all of one squad, I can't remember the name of it. I think that the squad started with an S. I don't know if it was a scripted thing, but it sounded like that entire squadron was down.
That one was I think that was part of the fourth when you're at the space elevator mission. That is the that is the.
I was like, oh shit,
yeah.
did I fuck up and lose a whole entire squadron for the rest of the game? I wasn't sure. I had a quick question. Yeah. Do you guys have a ship that you're kind of focusing on right now? Like, because at the end, I ended up getting the F2, and I got a bunch of the upgrades like beyond that, and that's kind of one I went with for the last two missions at least. But that's the kind of one I aimed for as far as like towards the end of this chapter. Is there something you kind of stuck with?
I don't remember which one so there's the F-16. Like if you go straight across the middle, I think it was the MiG first I bought, and then over from the MiG was like the F-16, and then with that one I bought the tail upgrade. I went up and bought an agility upgrade. So I'm in that area.
I went to the top.
Not the top.
I went top.
Yeah, there's four paths, right? I went to the one right below the top is where I am right now. And it's where I've bought a lot of the upgrades for that.
Yeah, I don't have a particular one that I'm focusing on. I just kind of, go and like anytime that I see if I have the amount to make a nice leap, then I just go that way. But I'm mostly following, I think, for parts, like things that I want to, like the special upgrade parts or things like that.
Yeah,
it is goofy. Oh, go ahead, Preston.
No, I was gonna say I noticed the F2. Like, I'm watching all those bars and meters go up. Like F2, I'm like, okay, that's substantial. And, like, I could have bought a new ship, like the second ship that you get. Like, I could have bought a new ship now, or I could wait for the next mission after I get another dump of cash and get to F2. And then after F2, there's like 4 different upgrades right after him that are super cheap. So I bought him. I'm like, boom, 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 and I went into that last mission with like 5 upgrades on my fucking F2. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking go.
Yeah.
I did that, but on the one down. It is funny, like, because your garage is your garage, if you will. So, like, you're this disgraced pilot, and you're now in prison, and like you're flying these like bucket of bolts to scare off the other people. And they're like, "What plane do you want to take out of all of these beautiful ones you've bought recently?" I'm like, "Well, that doesn't follow the story."
Well, they still. So the way that they do that is that your plane is also impounded. Like you're not. Like it's that plane the. Because it's not assuming that you own all of those planes, but the plane that you choose, that one got court-martialed along with you. Like it's at that base with you because a pilot, wants you to do it. But you actually notice that in that mission too, when you like they put like a line through your old symbol and like it covered up the trigger name, like because you've lost that call sign now, like that kind of thing. So they it goes through it like that.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. We will be back next week with part 2. Where are we playing on this one, Christian? Because that wasn't.
We are going to do.
Super long.
Yep. So I think that it seems like that time was a good set. So we're going to do the exact same thing. So we are going to play up to mission 10, which is transfer orders.
We're stopping on transfer orders 6, 7, 8, 9.
We beat
and 10. So we're going to do 5 missions. Yeah, we will beat 10. So.
5. Beat 10.
Yeah, so you will stop at mission 11, but you won't.
Okay.
You just
Finish
won't play
6
it.
through
But yeah, you play mission 6 through 10.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. All right, everybody. Well, again, thanks for hanging out with us with our first part of the Video Game Book Club. We'll be back next time with part 2 of Ace Combat 7. And I, for one, can't wait. So I hope everybody else is excited.
Yeah, I'm gonna go watch Maverick
Better.
before the next episode. 'Cause I haven't seen that
You
movie
should.
yet. It's been one. I've been playing this like I kind of want to watch Maverick. I heard it was really good.
So-
I should watch Maverick.
I didn't know you hadn't seen it.
Sure,
yeah.
seen it. Yeah, no.
short little anecdote. I also love how I do this and my camera like zooms in.
I know it's very suspenseful.
It does. Yeah.
So so Allie does not like Tom Cruise in this house.
I mean, most
I
people
for
like
one,
Sure.
Tom Cruise.
don't give a shit about Tom Cruise,
Yeah.
but like my guilty pleasure movies are Mission Impossible. I own them all. On my
sure.
birthday, oftentimes, like I'll be off for my birthday and I will order Chinese food and binge watch like all 6 of them. I love them. It's a thing for me, and I don't
Good
care.
movies.
Don't judge me. I
They're
don't care.
fun.
Whatever. Right?
No one's judging you. This is a judgment-free zone.
But this is not a judgment-free house when it comes to that. So,
Yes. Yeah.
but yeah, so she does not understand. She's like, she'll never get it. She's not a guy of our age. She did not grow up in our generation. But like Travis and I wanted to watch it, so we watched it, and I enjoyed it because it is like what it is, just like an action.
It's a
movie.
dumb
Yeah,
fucking
absolutely.
action
Zoom,
movie.
right?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, go and zoom. And yeah, we had to watch it one night when she was going. She's not like Tom Cruise at all. So
Is it crazy?
anyway, it's fun.
Everybody has Air Force mustaches in that movie,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
they go for it.
So
It's,
that
it's a
movie
good one.
happened. I saw a whole bunch of fucking guys out there with goddamn mustaches.
Yep.
Yep.
So cool. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, Preston. I'm sure you got to go eat. It's getting late, everybody.
Yeah.
You know what to do.
Foods. Hit it.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Testing Room. To catch up on past episodes or check out the newest ones when they drop, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. If watching is more your thing, check out youtube.com/thetestingroom or Twitch TV/testingroompod. To leave comments and ask questions, follow us on Instagram @testingroompod and email us at testingroompod@gmail.com. See you next time.